Matt Lenihan for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store and our Kings. We're here, Saudi Arabia. Jimmy Moore, heavyweight business for yourself on this card. We'll start there because we're going to talk to topic card and some fights that have been made. But Dave Allen, the cult hero, the enigma. I spoke to him this week, and there is an air of maturity about him that I haven't seen in years. I've spent 4 years doing this, and I don't think I've ever had a one-on-one interview with him. It's just ones I've seen over the years, and there seems to be this change. We spoke a bit about it off camera. I know he's a dad now, so I know life's maybe considerably different. Talk me through it. It's a hell of an opportunity to upset the apple cart on Saturday night.
Of course there is. Yeah, I think you're right in all them things what you just said. Is probably a good analysis of where he's at. He's definitely matured since he become a dad, a little bit. But from a boxing point of view, I think it's really helped him. I remember it myself, that motivation, what you get, sort of things shift from it being about yourself to it being for a bigger purpose and stuff like that. And I think Dave, it's come at a good time for him because he's still young enough to have been able to do it. Where a lot of people get to that point in their life, and then by the time they realise what they should have been doing, it was too late. He'll tell you himself he's never really done it the right way, and he's still had some good success. So I'm hoping we've just got it just at the right time. Johnny Fisher, tremendous fighter, dangerous man, and this fight could go any way, including the fact that Dave could end up getting, finished quickly, because that's the type of fighter Johnny Fisher is. But we've got a game plan, we've worked on it, and the main thing for me is he's implemented it, he's stuck to it, he's listened, he's made a few mistakes along the way, but the one thing what stands out in all this training camp is he turned up fitter than he's ever been for a fight 11 weeks ago. And then he's dropped his weight accordingly, even though there is no sort of set weight limit. He knows he performs better at a lighter weight. And the one thing what stood out for me is he's sparred so well, and the rounds what he's had where he's not sparred so well, he's been able to adapt and change and improve on what he's done. Instead of in the past, it's quite a regular theme where once he went down a rabbit hole, he was never coming back out. He's that sort of tough guy, and him would just kick in and he just sort of tough it out with everyone. And I swear, honestly, he's got a really good boxing brain, and now he's fit. He's able to recover in between rounds. He's able to go again. He's able to adapt during rounds, and all that could change with one punch. So we understand the dangers of this fight with Johnny Fisher. But I promise you, if he gets into his groove and starts getting to the point in the fight where experience kicks in, then I really fancy our chances.
Did you see a point, I suppose, reflecting on maybe your own career? Obviously, I know you're a father as well, and did sort of life change for you, maturity? I think it happens to all of us. I've got a kid myself, and things do change maybe a bit mentally, but in terms of what it does for your career, was there a change in yourself?
Yeah, I think the first time I was in Fight of the Year, Mikey was 5 weeks old, so he'd just been born, and I was having to live away from the house at the time, which was killing me because I had a new kid, and I was missing him. I wanted to be there around him, but I knew it was for the greater good. I was doing it for a reason for us all, and I was in a bad way. In the third round, got put down twice, and I don't know the answer to this question, but maybe that was the reason what pulled me through it. That new drive and motivation what I had, what I'd never had before. And then after that point, I was in Fight of the Year 3 times. But I think it comes around full circle, and that the determination the kids give you is so powerful that you'd go through walls. But then as they get older and they end up becoming little people, you started to then, the sort of human side of you starts to go, I can't keep doing this to myself, because I was in so many hard fights, and you start to think about, I need to be here for them in the future. So it sort of comes full circle, and I went through that whole process. So 6 years later, he sat there 6 years old next to me in a meeting with a brain specialist who said to me, listen, let's not beat around the bush. Your brain scan's changed and it's probably caused from boxing, even though the part what's changed can be natural. It's most likely caused from boxing, so I suggest you get out as soon as you can. He was actually sat with me in that meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was off school with an ear infection, so he was sat with me in that meeting. So I looked at him and he just sort of went. Now, for it to come full circle like that, I just thought to myself, I can't do this to him. So I understand the impact, what they can have, the drive, what it can give you, but the other side of it can be like, I need to step back now, and they've helped me save myself.
Yeah.
So they're the best thing in the world. I love anything about kids, people who are fighting for the kids, because that's the main reason. And I've seen such a shift in Dave Allen's attitude and his demeanour, his ego. There's no ego. It's all about. It's like it's for a higher purpose. And he's in the best form I've ever seen him, and he's put himself in the best position he could to win this fight.
It'll be an extraordinary feat, because I think obviously we've seen him before in previous camps where he says the right things and you think, I hope it's right, but just looking at him it feels different. And also on the side note to that, your lad's going on unboxing himself now as well, is that correct?
Yeah, through the bomb a couple of years ago he started.
What did you when he tells you that and you talk about you having them scans? You know the danger of this sport, but you weren't. You know yourself. You fight of the year doesn't mean necessarily it's a one side, but you go through the trenches and you know what it can do. Is there a worry because you do it for them, but then they go, well, I want a bit of that, and you're like, how can I stop him? But I don't want it.
In all honesty, it's probably the biggest compliment and your biggest worry all at the same time, because if they see something in boxing and look at you and say, I sort of want to do what my dad's done, then what a compliment that is to you. But then I understand the dangers of it, but I've said this loads of times, the risks are far outweighed by the positives of boxing. And I know the positive. I opened an amateur boxing club in my area for that reason, because I know the impact and I know how it changes people's lives, and I know in the long run the lessons he gets from boxing, regardless of whether he has 10 fights or 100 fights, it will impact him and make him a better person in the long run. So I'd rather him do it than not do it.
I have to say, I think as well, a shout out to possibly Matchroom Boxing as well, who've been doing a lot of work with the community work in the government. I think Boxer have done it in Queensbury, and everyone's doing it now a bit more and pushing it for the community, because you see the effects it has on kids maybe who aren't, I'm not saying fighters not the most academic, but you often see the ones who are struggling to find a path, maybe find home in a gym, and crime reduces. And I think if God willing, the government.
So, I opened an amateur boxing gym 4 years ago in my area because it needed it, like really needed it. And the difference it's made to the kids who come in the gym, the amount of messages I get every time we have a boxing show, the parents or even the kids themselves messaging me saying, thank you so much for opening this gym, it's changed my life, I never would have been able, I would have been in so much trouble. And I promise you, like, I've been coaching now for over 10 years. We've had undisputed world champions, British champions. We've had a lot of success. That amateur boxing club is by far the best thing I've ever achieved in boxing. By far.
I was just about to ask you, you've been on inside of the ring, you get your hand raised, you're in the outside of the ring as a trainer, got all the accolades in some form or another, and long may that continue. But then when you get that, is that sort of not maybe a boxing? It puts more life into perspective, because you're not expecting every kid that walks through to be your Anthony Joshua. You just want them to change stuff.
For me, it's not a boxing thing, but it's through boxing that it's been able. Where we're in a position where we're able to change kids' lives, and it's done through boxing as a tool of a sport that I love. But the impact it's had on the community where I live is unbelievable, and I'll be forever grateful that I'm in a position that we've been able to give them the opportunity to change their lives. Because I know I would have had nothing if it wasn't for boxing. God knows what I'd have ended up doing.
Do you look back at that and sort of I don't want to say count your lucky stars, because I think in boxing, nothing's easily earned really. Like especially from the era you come from, it's a hard sport now, even with social media. But do you look back at that, and even though everyone tends to look forward, do you look back and go, what road would I have been on if not? Because the opportunities are so limited in areas.
It's a cliche, isn't it? The old story of boxing. I was going to go down the wrong path and it saved my life, and it is a bit of a cliche now, but it's the gospel truth. And if it hadn't have been for boxing, I have no idea where I'd have been. And in all honesty, I was from a young age. I was working. I grafted with my dad, who used to deliver beer. It wasn't like I was shy away from work, but I was getting into trouble, and I really don't know which direction my life would have gone in. I'd like to think that I was quite level-headed and I would have avoided it, but I just don't know. So I'm forever grateful for boxing, and the reason I've opened the amateur boxing club is because I wanted to give every kid from my area the chance to change their life. And you'll never hear about the success stories, because one of them out of 1,000 will be on TV in 10-15 years time and will make a success story. But they're not the success stories. The ones are the kids' lives who you change, whose everyday routine, the work ethic, the structures to their life, the discipline, the manners, all that stuff is they will never say or really get the chance to tell everyone in the world, because they won't have a platform to do it. That boxing gym changed my life, but there's hundreds and hundreds who we've changed already, and we've only been open 4 years.
Well, that's why I think it's important. As much as me and you, and look, I'll go on all day talking, probably too much, but we do all these interviews, and it's nice to shine light on these events, and we're going to talk about this card, but it's nice to have the flip side of seeing the behind the scenes of what you guys do, because like you say, they don't get the platform it deserves, and with the helps of the promoters, I'm thinking in my lifetime hopefully it'll change and we do it government wise. But yeah, well said, and long may it continue.
How we ended up on that was from Dave Allen. I have no idea. For the kids, wasn't it? For going back for the kids.
Yeah, I think it's nice to have a bit of a pivot rather than the same old stuff, because we're going to come on to that anyway. But just quickly, actually, Cameron Vuong. How's Cameron? I didn't get a chance to catch up with you after the fight. I was there at ringside. Lots of stuff was said as usual. How has he reacted to victory, and where it's divided? I said divided opinion. A lot of people thought he took a defeat. How's the gym reacted yourself? Have you spoke to him?
He took it well. I mean, listen, I understand it. It was a close fight, and when somebody does better than you anticipate, then you're always sort of more surprised for it, or you sort of favour that stuff. But I scored it 6-4 to Cameron, and I understand that some people might see it the other way, maybe 6-4 the other way. I've watched it back a few times now, and I still have it the same, scored it the same as I did on the night. And we knew it was going to be that type of fight. I don't understand how some people are going, I thought he'd have won that clearly, but beforehand people were saying he's made a mistake taking the fight. The facts are, we spoke to about at length about it, me and Sam Jones, before the fight, about is it too early, or is it a fight where he can win it, but it'll be a tough fight and he'll get a lot of lessons which will make him a much better fighter in the future. And I was saying, listen, it's a hard fight. Technically, Cameron's much better, but he'll just keep coming and coming and coming, and the weaker areas of Cameron's style will allow him to have success, but he'll have to change and adapt. It'll be a hard 10 rounds, but he'll come through it and it'll stand him in better stead. So in many ways, what we predicted happened. I didn't expect the backlash, to be honest, because when I was watching it, I was thinking it's close, but I've got it 6-4. But yeah, he's good. He's positive, because he knows the stuff we spoke about before it, about how he was going to go. It sort of went that way. And I tell you what, Cameron Vuong is a ballsy little bastard. Let me tell you now. 2 10-rounders in 7 fights, fighting an ex-British Commonwealth and European champion, and gritting it out the way he did was unbelievable.
Yeah, he had to show a lot of heart in there, because I think when people talk about Gavin, Gwynne, it's easy to look at sometimes the defeats, but you look at the wins he's had. He beat a guy in Sean McComb, who's gone on to beat Barboza and didn't get a decision.
Didn't get the decision, but think about that. Right. Sean McComb, yeah, exactly. And I've always been a big believer in you can get braver. You can learn how to get braver. I think I did it when I got beat off Scott Dixon. I sort of let the occasion get to me, and it was more of a psychological thing, whereas those lessons what I learned made me come through so much more in the future. And I think Sean McCombs learnt a lot of lessons from that loss, but he overwhelmed Sean just with his it's not quality work, it's quantity. And because Cameron was aware of that, he knew what was going to come, but you've got to have such psychological strength to just tough it out and take it and then keep biting back the way he was. So I think he deserves credit. No, everyone's always quick to criticise. Give the kid some credit. He's moving so quick, and if he wasn't moving quick and he was fighting, if he'd fought 7 journeymen up to now and blasted them out, first of all, he'd have thought it was the next coming of Sugar Ray Leonard, and we'd have had no idea how good he was actually going to be. We'd have just thought he's the best prospect in the country. But we've made his apprenticeship harder to make sure he's better in the future. And he's getting criticised for that, so you can't win.
I think that's the learning lesson in like boxing, whether you thought he won or lost. I think one thing that we were all saying is like, geez, like, he's done well. So to be so young and to take it on, credit to both.
You wouldn't get a prospect coming through who's had twice the amount of fights as him who would take Gavin Gwynne. You won't get it. So I think he deserves a bit of respect on his name.
Yeah, but I think both stock goes through the roof off the back of it anyway.
By the way, I really like Gavin Gwynne. He's right up my street. Well. Yeah. He's a lovely kid, and I always feel like this afterwards when it's a close fight and he's at the stage and age of his career where that would have really pushed him on. I do feel for him, and I've had this conversation with Cameron as well. We said we're going to get a fight, maybe 2 in between, and if he still wants it at the end of the year, we'll have the rematch because he deserves it. And I think in the meantime, Cameron will improve and learn the lessons from the fight, and it'll be a good gauge of where he's at as well.
You've just answered my next question, so we don't have to continue on that. I was going to ask about the rematch. Catterall Barboza. I saw Jack's tweet and he just put, he's questioning it now. Is that fight happening?
Yeah, it looks like it. I think they're both on the same page. They're nearly there with the numbers and a few little ego things going about, but nothing what can't be fixed because Jack's really not got one. He just wants to fight, wants to get it made. Listen, what he wants is a world title fight, and this really, in all honesty, Teofimo is just holding the belt up. I'm imagining he's never going to fight at the weight again. He's looking for the bigger fight at welterweight. So, in all honesty, he should just give the belt up. I'm hoping that the fight gets made, and from the point it does until the point the fight gets made, he gives the belt up, and then they can box for a vacant title. I'd love that to happen for him because he deserves it.
It's better than, I always think, although sometimes in elevation or however it works in boxing with the governing bodies, you want to win it on the night. You want it to be on the line rather than get told, oh look, it's now the next, But anyway, look, let's roll on to this fight weeks. I know other people want to speak to you, and I've gone way above what I was going to do here. But a good message in there. Fury Usyk. I've seen both men's demeanour this week. Fury this week has reminded me of pre-Wilder 1, pre-Klitschko, Viking beard, sort of mentioned about, look, I haven't spoken to my missus in 3 months. I think he said to Dev Sana. It didn't seem like he was, last time I think he was quite jovial before the fight. It seems very much like, I ain't here to talk, let's get this done, let's get this fight on. As we approach it, what's your thoughts? The first one was a banger, by the way, what a fight. Second one, I think we're in for the same.
Yeah, and do you know what? I haven't seen anything of what Fury said, but my only opinion is I thought the way he adjusted from the first Wilder fight to the second was really impressive. And Usyk, there's 2 things here for me. If Usyk's allowed to pick up the fight where he left off last time, he's going to run away with it. He's by the midway point last time, he'd worked his distance, his timing with Fury, his rhythm, and he just started to pull away. If he's allowed to start like that and pull away by the midpoint, there'll be no pulling it back. So the way I see it is Fury's got to adapt, he's got to do something different than he did last time, because if he goes in the same as last time, Usyk's going to be prepared, he's going to be ready for it. He was caught off guard last time, Not off guard as in he didn't know what was coming, but he just struggled to come to terms with Fury. And then by the time he worked him out, he started to run away with it. If he's allowed to start like that, he'll run away with it. And I don't think Fury will. I really believe the first time I thought he was going to use his size more. Rough him up, get him on the inside, work him downstairs, not make it a boxing match, because I don't ever see sense in trying to win a boxing match against someone whose IQ is so high as Usyk's. So I really thought he was going to drag him into a dogfight and make it physical, because if he does that, by the midway point, instead of Usyk running away with it, he'll be catching up with himself, and you need muscular fatigue in a fighter who's so technically good as Usyk. So I believe Fury's got the tools and the physical attributes to be able to do that. It's just, is he going to get into the fight early? He's got to go. For me, he's got to go for it early and make it a dogfight. Because if he doesn't, I feel like Usyk's going to run with it.
It's going to be an interesting fight. If it's anything like the last one, just a small percentage of it, I think we're in for a treat, and it's a terrific card top to bottom. Look, we'll catch up maybe after the fight, depending on how obviously everything goes. And yeah, always a pleasure catching up. Do it soon.
Cheers, mate.